So I may use the word conflict and confrontation a lot in this video, but these two words are more about having the courage to express yourself with curiosity and compassion. Yes, conflict and confrontation are difficult, but they do not need to have a negative connotation, especially when ignoring these things can lead to stuffing our feelings and actually harm relationships with ourselves and others more deeply in the long run. It can lead to resentment, anger, and frustration when we try to avoid conflict and confrontation. So I hope that you just use this video as a guide in learning how to confront your emotions peacefully and come to a resolution with yourself and others. It's not always going to be perfect, but I encourage you to have the courage to do so. That's what I'm working on, is the courage to express myself. So good luck. In my last video, I talked about anger and hurt, why it is so important to reckon and be aware of these feelings within ourselves so that we can resolve them before they turn into something more long-term and damaging. In this video, we're going to talk about different ways to confront without ruining your relationships with yourself or other people. There are a few things I want to get clear first before we jump into how to confront. The first thing, confrontation is not synonymous with aggression. The second thing is confrontation is about being honest, vulnerable. The third thing is to have a successful confrontation, there needs to be a certain level of curiosity that you bring to the table, thinking about how others affected you. Confrontations are a necessary and valuable tool for personal, professional, and relational growth. And the last thing is that confrontations are best done after you've had some time to self-reflect and take accountability for your own actions and feelings. So let's get into it. In approaching conflict, a really popular resolution style is using I feel statements. The keywords here are I and feel, and staying away from using you. The power in this technique is that you're not using blaming statements or judgmental verbs when describing the behavior of another person. Here are some bad examples. I feel sad when you flirt with other people, judgment. Or I feel like you are being very rude to me, blaming. Instead, we want to stick to talking about how we feel. Here are some better examples to counteract those ones that I just said. I feel insecure sometimes when I see you talking to other people. It takes out the judgment of flirting. And the other one, I feel upset when I think that someone isn't valuing my time. Putting ownership here and taking out the blame of the other person. If all else fails and you still can't come up with what you think is a proper I feel statement without using judgments or blame, just come out with I feel, I'm hurt right now. I feel confused right now. I'm upset by that interaction that we just had. The point is to talk about it in the moment, which is very hard. So if you don't want to spend your time thinking and calculating the statement, just come out with it. I feel upset. It's just important to start a conversation about it. The next tool is the story I am telling myself. Brené Brown talks about this in her Rising Strong book. Using this statement is a beautiful way to call out that you're having feelings about an interaction and you just want to speak life to it with the other person because you're not really clear about what's going on, but you also want to stop making up potential false stories in your head. You acknowledge that you may not have all the truth about what's going on, so you tell the person, hey, I'm making up this story in my head and I'm not sure if it's true. You are asking them to fact check with you. Another way to approach it is to say, I might be reading this wrong, but and then you fill in the blank. That is a way to acknowledge that you can read the energy in the room. You understand that maybe there is something you did wrong. That way there is no blame again. And also you're offering an olive branch. Like here, you can tell me what I did wrong. Like I'm just curious, you know? The story I'm making up in my head is so powerful because it acknowledges that the stories we make up are not always true, but they're valid. Chances are more than half of the story that you made up is not how the other person is feeling. We're not mind readers. You are doing two important things. You are being vulnerable about a potentially shameful story that you're telling yourself, and you're giving the other person an opportunity to openly discuss it with you. Apology sandwich. This is about taking ownership and responsibility for our own actions and behaviors, while also setting boundaries with the other person involved about how you would like to be treated. I used this one the other day when I was super hurt by an interaction I had with someone. I wasn't able to speak up or verbalize what was happening for me in the moment, but the feelings were stuck with me and I was super hurt, so I decided to journal about it first. After complaining and blaming in my journal entry, I realized that I did play a part in hurting the other person's feelings. Even though I was still really angry with that other person for hurting me, I have to acknowledge that I also hurt them. So, with still angry feelings, I went up to the person and apologized for my part while opening up an opportunity for them to take ownership of their action. For example, I realized I was short with you and I am sorry that I snapped at you. I also want to say that how you spoke to me really hurt my feelings. I wanted to talk to you about this so that we can avoid this kind of interaction in the future. It's not always wise to go into a conflict or a confrontation needing something from another person, because chances are you might not get it. So it's good to just apologize for your part and set boundaries about how you want to be treated. Yay, adult conversation! Another really cool one to use, number 4, is, hey, can we talk about, that way if you're still thinking about something and you don't have a lot of information on it and you're tired of making up the stories in your head, you just approach the person and say, hey, can we talk about that interaction we had earlier? I'm left kind of confused by it. Getting curious with someone is the cure to all hurt. When you get curious, hey, what was that about? What were you feeling? That allows them to get vulnerable. Two people get vulnerable, relationships are built stronger. So all in all, I know that I'm on the right track with anger when I can see my part in the situations. I haven't done enough self-reflecting if I can't see my part in it. It's really important to see what parts of the situations that you can control and account for. And even if it's just 10% and you want to apologize for that 10% just in hopes of opening up a conversation with someone else, it's totally worth it. Because when I'm angry, it comes out as self-righteousness. It comes out as putting on that armor and protecting myself from things that I don't need protecting from, coming off cold and cross and annoyed, and that's none of the things I want to be in my life. And really be courageous with the feelings that are underneath. So I hope you'll join me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Adios.